G'day guys, Mac at the Outer Circle, and in this episode of Getting Started in the Horus Heresy, we're going to be looking at the Night Lords. So this is the Part 3 episode. For Part 1, we spoke about the different units that you can include in the Legion in order to make it look and feel like Night Lords. In Part 2, we spoke about the rules, the Warlord traits, that kind of thing, and in Part 3, we're talking about the characters and Primarch. So to start with, we're going to go for the GOAT, really, of the Night Lords, and that is Sevatar. So Sevatar is incredibly powerful character. He has a 2+ armor save, 4+ invulnerable save, which is a boost up on the last edition. For some reason he had like regular power armor, don't know why. Has bloody murder, so additional attack bonuses. Causes fear 2, precision strikes on a 4+. Has a chain glaive, which is +2 strength, AP 2, murderous strike on a 6+, and duelist edge in close combat, which is pretty damn strong. But in a challenge, which is where you want Sevatar, he will gain instant death on all of his attacks. And because he is Initiative 6, going up to, say, Initiative 7, if you pull off the charge, then you can strike first with an awful lot of attacks at Weapon Skill 7. Now, there is ways of boosting that further, which is he is a Psyker, and you can give him +1 weapon skill, but you're very likely to suffer from that thanks to perils and very low leadership. It's a 50-50 chance, basically, of passing your perils check. And you don't want to do that around things like Sisters of Silence, for example. So be very, very careful if you do want to boost up to weapon skill 8. It does have its uses, but oh boy, are you brave if you do it. He is just behind Causewayne when it comes to challenges, in my opinion. I think Causewayne wins out just because he's got that half weapon skill point higher. So he's going to hit you a little bit easier than you can hit him, and although all of your attacks are instant death, so are the majority at Causewayne's. So it's really the one who gets the most attacks through is the most likely to win that close combat, and I think Causewayne has the edge there. Causewayne or Sevatar, really, it's down to who charges, because, well, they've both got duelist edge and things like that, so in a challenge and who charges first and such, the additional attacks could be the advantage. So Causewayne, but it's a whisker in it. But both of them are better than Lucius. They will kill him. His big buff for the army, and this is why he's called the GOAT in my opinion, is he will give Legion Terminators in Cataphractii or Tartarus armor deep strike. It's costing you nothing. And they'll get preferred enemy on the turn that they arrive, and that will be for Kontakar and the Legion Terminators. So really, really good, because you can throw a lot of units onto the table close to your opponent in that first turn just by doing that, and that's going to buy time for someone like Sevatar himself to cross the battlefield. So really, really good in that regard. Moving on from there, we get to 3 more special characters, and these are all ones that don't have models or anything like that, so you've got to convert them to play them. There's the Flame Master Mordwim Lansai, who is a fallen Primus Medicae, and he's a Primus Medicae. What do you expect? The only difference is he has terrible war gear, and although he grants Feel No Pain to his squad, his big gimmick is that you can roll a dice, and on a 4+, basically one of your guys in the squad dies, and he gets a wound back. But since he's armed with the Strength 3, AP 3 weapon, yeah, I don't know. It's got Murderous Strike, which is good, but it's only on a 5+, and everything you want to use Murderous Strike on has a 2+ save, and he doesn't have a lot of attacks, so I consider him to be a quite underwhelming special character. Then there's Kiron Ophion. Now, Kiron Ophion is a very good character. He is essentially a tooled-up Praetor. He is not Sevatar levels of character, but, you know, you could take on someone like maybe Saul Tarvit's level. So, weapon skill 6, 4 attacks, initiative 5, but +2 strength, AP 3, chain glaive, which is shredding, because chain glaive, and breaching on a 5+, which is very handy, so it will get down to AP 2, don't worry about that. And he's got a 3+ invulnerable save in close combat, 4+ invulnerable save out of it, which is really good. And if you control less objectives, then the enemy does, he'll actually grant a 12-inch bubble of stubborn to Night Lords around him, which may come in very handy in the first turn or so of the game. If the enemy moves on to objectives and you haven't yet, that bubble is going to kick in for that turn. So it's something, especially if you're getting shot at by, say, Nemesis bolt weapons, for example. I think he's probably the pick of the characters to take in most games. So going on from him, we get to Nacrid Thol. Now, Nacrid Thol is very expensive for a lot of gimmicks. So, Praetor stat line, but his big thing is he's got an electric whip, and if he whips you with it, then you reduce your initiative to 1, because it's kind of like an old Thunderhammer, concussive type thing that used to be. So, and if he uses that on you, he can also go and hit you with his little hatchet. He has a power hatchet, which is a weird concept. It's not a power axe, it's a hatchet. And it's +2 strength, it's AP2, but it's unwieldy, and Murderous Strike 6+. And you get an extra attack against models that have their initiative reduced by any sort of rule. Well, I consider him to be pretty crap for what he offers, so I'd say avoid. Cool ideas, but avoid. Then lastly, we get to the Primarch himself, Conrad Kurz. And Conrad Kurz is a very solid Primarch. Now, he's not going to win Primarch duels. He's not bad, but he's not that strong either in them. Mainly down to the fact that his weapons are like Korax, they're lightning cores. Yep, they're AP2 at initiative. Yep, they've got Murderous Strike. Yep, you get an awful lot of attacks. In fact, if you combine all of his bonuses together, you'll be somewhere around the 10 to 11 attacks margin. So, really good in that regard. But the sort of people you're going up against in Primarch dueling, they do things like, I keep going back to, say, Ferrus Manus, Brutal 3, Perturabo, Brutal 2, Horus, Brutal 2, and their weapons are going to be wounding you on 2s, you're going to be wounding them on 4s with rerolls, 5s against some of them with rerolls. So, something to keep in mind there. Strength is a big weakness on this Primarch. That said, he can do a lot of damage. Murderous Strike on a 4+ means that it's a 50-50 chance that anything that he rolls to wound against is going to be instant death. So he can kill things like Terminators, and he has a lot of attacks to do it with. But keep in mind, even if you hit with, for some reason, you hit with all 10 attacks, okay, and then you manage to wound with all 10 attacks, because it'll be 2s to wound with rerolls against Terminators, that's going to be a max of 5 Terminators you kill, on average. Just, 4+ armor saves, Cataphractii bodyguards, that kind of thing. So it's not quite enough to say that you can guarantee just throw him in and kill a squad. And because of the way his stat line is and such, you don't want him tied down with something like Contacar Terminators. You really want him hanging around with something faster, but not Night Raptors. He's not that fast. I don't know. It's hard. He can run very far. He's going to be running 12 inches automatically, so you can cross the table incredibly quickly, so you don't need a transport for him. But yeah, it's an awful lot going on at once there. He's only got a 2+, 4+ as well, which is the same as any regular Legion Praetor. Again, there's a lot of Primarchs out there which have weapon skill that's equal to him, combined with a 3+ invulnerable save, which means that they're going to take the punishment better than him, especially if they're the higher toughness guys. They're just going to grind him down through attrition. That said, though, he has a lot of buffs that he gives to his army. He's going to grant night vision to everyone, which is awesome, especially if you're fighting at night, because you're going to have the advantage by a mile. You're going to have immunity to fear as well, and bloody murder, which means you can get a potential +3 attacks on infantry squads in your army. So I know that you can get 10-man squads, for example, up to like 51 attacks on despoilers or assault marines, for example. So really, really strong in that regard. Overall, I think he's best used for those kind of things, buffing the army and just using him to take out high-value targets that you know he can just get to quickly, kill, and then get the hell away from. Cool little rule is he's got this King of Terrors thing, which is sort of the last rule to talk about, really. And that is, if someone sees Kurz kill another unit in line of sight, and he just wipes them outright, they have to take a pinning check. It's good if they're not immune to that kind of thing, but there is a lot of stuff that is immune to pinning or has stubborn and that kind of thing where fear isn't going to kick in. So keep that in the back of your mind. It won't get you out of a pickle. And he does have a psychic ability, he can pass, but really I'd be looking to hit and run away from a combat with another Primarch rather than trying to go for a feel no pain, because just like on Sevatar, the chances are you're probably going to blow yourself up using it. So don't do it. Anyway, that's it. That's the Night Lords in a nutshell. Back with the Outer Circle. Had fun making this episode, and I think the next one we're going to do is going to be World Eaters. So yeah, join us on that one. It'll be fun. Back with the Outer Circle. Thank you all, and I'll see you all on the next one.